Have you ever wondered why the man who built the modern world is suddenly getting out of it? Bill Gates is quietly selling off $89 billion of his empire. And if you think he is just doing it for charity, you're missing the real story. Most people believe Bill Gates is just a retired tech guy who likes reading books and saving the world, but the reality is much more chilling. While the media focuses on his divorce or his latest blog post, Gates has been moving a massive amount of cash into assets that suggest he knows something we don't. In this video, I am going to show you the $89 billion warning that nobody saw coming and why your financial future might depend on understanding his next move. By the time we finish, you will see the three-part plan he is using to survive a global shift and how you can protect yourself before the window closes. You probably clicked on this video because you saw the number $89 billion and thought, that is a lot of money to move in secret. Your expectation is likely that I will tell you about a stock market crash or a new tech bubble. I am going to meet that expectation. But then, I am going to beat it by showing you that he isn't just selling stocks. He is buying up the very foundation of human survival. This is not just a financial play. It is a survival play. Before we look at the numbers, we have to understand the man. Bill Gates didn't become the richest man on earth by following the crowd. He became the richest by seeing where the world was going decades before anyone else. Now, he is looking at 2030 and 2040, and he is betting against the system that made him a billionaire. Let's start with the first part of the warning, which is the massive sell-off of Microsoft stock. For decades, Gates was synonymous with Microsoft, but today his stake is a tiny fraction of what it used to be. Why would he sell the most successful tech company in history? The common take is that he is just diversifying his wealth. People think he wants to put his money into different baskets so he is safe. But there is a contrarian approach to this. If you look at the timing of his sales, he isn't just diversifying, he is liquidating. He is moving out of paper wealth and into real wealth. Imagine you own a house in a town where the dam is about to break. You don't just sell one room, you sell the whole house and buy land on the mountain. That is exactly what Gates is doing with his $89 billion. He is moving away from the volatile tech market and into things that will always have value no matter what happens to the US dollar or the stock exchange. This brings us to an important question. If he is selling tech, what is he buying? The answer is the most disregarded asset of the last 50 years, farmland. Bill Gates is now the largest private owner of farmland in the United States. Think about that for a second. The guy who created Windows and the Xbox is now the king of potatoes and corn. He owns more than 270,000 acres across dozens of states. But why? The why is simple but terrifying. As the global population grows and climate change makes certain areas unlivable, food is going to become more expensive than gold. By owning the land, Gates owns the supply chain of life itself. He isn't looking for a 10% return on a tech stock. He is looking for a monopoly on the things you eat. This is the second point of the warning. The shift from digital to physical. While everyone is obsessed with AI and Bitcoin, the smartest man in the room is buying dirt. But it gets even deeper than just dirt. To understand the $89 billion move, we have to use the somebody wanted but so then framework. Bill Gates wanted to maintain his influence and wealth for the next century, but he realized the current financial system is too fragile to last. So, he started selling his tech assets and moved into land, energy, and water. He began building a private infrastructure that functions outside of the normal government systems. This next step I am about to share with you is perhaps the most overlooked part of the entire plan. It is about the energy pivot. Gates has been putting billions into nuclear energy through his company, TerraPower. He knows that the world's thirst for electricity is exploding, especially with the rise of AI data centers. By owning the future of clean, reliable energy, he ensures that the world has to pay him just to keep the lights on. I know what you are thinking. I don't have $89 billion, so how does this help me? That is a fair question, but you have to look at the pattern. When the big players start moving to the sidelines, it usually means a storm is coming. You need to stop looking at what Gates says in his interviews and start looking at where he puts his money. There is an open loop here that we need to close. Earlier, I mentioned that he is betting against the economy. The proof is in his cash position. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Trust has been holding massive amounts of cash and short-term investments. In a world where inflation is high, holding cash is usually a bad idea. Unless, of course, you are waiting for a massive crash, so you can buy everything else for pennies on the dollar. This is the Great Liquidation. Gates is sitting on a mountain of dry powder, waiting for the Western markets to hit a wall. If you look at historical patterns, this is exactly what the ultra-wealthy do before a major reset. They sell at the top, wait for the panic, and then buy the world back at a discount. Now let's talk about the experience of being an investor right now. Do you feel like you belong in the current market? Or do you feel like an awkward third party watching the numbers go up and down? Most retail investors are the ones standing at the edge of the party with a cup, while the billionaires are already at the exit. The $89 billion warning is your invitation to leave the party before the lights go out. To keep this simple, let's use the why, what, and how framework. Why is he doing this? To protect his legacy and wealth from a systemic collapse. What is he buying? Physical assets like farmland, energy, and water. How can you follow him? By moving at least some of your energy out of speculative tech and into things that have real-world use. I want to share a story about a bridge in a small town. For years, everyone crossed the bridge to get to work, and it seemed fine. But one day, the smartest engineer in town stopped using the bridge and started building a boat. People laughed at him. They said he was wasting his time. But he knew that the pillars of the bridge were rotting under the water, where no one could see them. Bill Gates is that engineer, and the Western market is that bridge. The pillars of debt and inflation are rotting, and he is building his boat. The first step for you is the one that is the most important, yet also the most overlooked. You have to change your belief system about what wealth actually is. If you think wealth is just a number on a banking app, you are in danger. Real wealth is the ability to produce food, energy, and shelter. That is why Gates is buying the land. He is moving back to the basics because the basics never go to zero. But wait, there is more to the story. There is a third part of the plan that involves global health and data. Gates has been quietly funding the digital infrastructure for health tracking across the globe. Why? Because in the next decade, data will be the new oil. By controlling the systems that track how people move, eat, and stay healthy, he becomes a silent partner in every government on the planet. This is not a conspiracy. It is just good business. If you can provide a solution to a problem that every person has, you win. Gates is positioning himself to be the solution for food, the solution for energy, and the solution for health data. It is an $89 billion net that he is casting over the entire future of humanity. Now, look at the contrast. On one side, you have the average person putting their life savings into a tech index fund. On the other side, you have Bill Gates, the guy who knows tech better than anyone, pulling his money out of it. Who do you think has the better information? If you're still watching, it means you realize that the old rules don't apply anymore. You want to know how to act on this. First, look at your own portfolio. Are you overexposed to the same things Gates is selling? Second, think about tangible assets. You might not be able to buy 200,000 acres of farmland, but you can look into commodities, real estate, or even small-scale food production. The second major solution to surviving this shift is your expectations. If you expect the government or the big banks to save your retirement, you are going to be disappointed. But if you expect volatility and plan for it, you can come out ahead. Confidence comes from having a plan that doesn't rely on luck. Let's do a pattern interrupt here. Stop and think. When was the last time you actually looked at the debt to GDP ratio of the Western world? It is at levels that have historically always led to a currency reset. Gates knows this. He isn't selling Microsoft because he hates the company. He is selling because he knows the dollar itself is on shaky ground. He is essentially shorting the current system by moving into assets that inflation cannot destroy. When the price of bread goes up, the price of his farmland goes up. When the price of electricity goes up, the value of his nuclear energy projects goes up. He has built a hedge against the very collapse his selling might help trigger. This brings us to the climax of the $89 billion warning. The warning isn't just about what he is selling. It is about the when. Gates has a history of being early. He was early to software, early to the internet, and early to the 2020 health crisis. If he is liquidating now, it means he expects the reality to hit the expectations within the next few years. We are living in the expectation versus reality gap right now. The expectation is that the markets will keep going up forever. The reality is that the underlying pillars are crumbling. When reality finally beats expectations, the drop will be fast and painful for those who aren't prepared. I want to give you a tool to help you track this. You don't need a team of analysts. You just need to watch the 13F filings of the big players. When you see guys like Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and Jeff Bezos all selling their legacy stocks at the same time, that is your signal. They are the ones with the best seats at the table, and they are all getting up to leave. Think about the hero's journey for your own money. You started with a goal to grow your wealth. You found some success. But now you are facing a massive challenge, a global economic shift. You can either stay in the old world and go down with the ship, or you can find a mentor, like the moves of the world's richest man, and transform your strategy. The payoff for paying attention to this warning is huge. While others are panicking when the markets dip, you will be sitting on assets that people actually need to live. You will be the one with the boat when the bridge breaks. Now, let's look at the hook-deliver cycle one more time. I told you about the $89 billion sale. I delivered the reason, his move into physical assets. But here is the next hook. Why is he doing this through a foundation instead of just his personal name? The answer is control. By using the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Trust, he gets massive tax breaks and can influence global policy under the guise of charity. This allows him to buy the world without looking like a villain. He is building a private kingdom with public sector tools. You might feel like this is a lot of information to handle in one go. That is okay. The main thing is to stop being a passive observer of your own life. Start taking active steps to understand the experience of the economy. If it feels like things are getting more expensive and more unstable, trust your gut. The richest man in the world is acting on that same feeling, but he has $89 billion to prove he is right. Before we wrap this up, let me give you one last pro tip that most people miss. Watch the water. Gates hasn't just been buying land. He's been buying the water rights that go with it. In many parts of the world, if you own the land but not the water, you own nothing. Gates is securing the most important resource on the planet. This is the ultimate high note of the video. You now have the blueprint for how the ultra-wealthy are preparing for the next 20 years. You know the why, the what, and the how. The question is, what are you going to do with it? If you just go back to scrolling on social media, this information is useless. But if you start making even small changes to how you think about your money, you are already ahead of 99% of people. The Western markets might be heading for a collapse, but that doesn't mean you have to collapse with them. By following the money, the real money, you can build a future that is resilient and safe. Everything I've just told you about Bill Gates and his $89 billion move is completely useless if you don't know how to protect your own bank account from the coming shift. Now that you know what the big players are doing, you need to know the specific assets that will survive a currency reset. Click on this video over here to see my breakdown of the top 5 assets you should own when the paper economy hits a wall. I'll see you over there to show you how to turn this warning into your biggest win. Don't forget to boop the like button if this opened your eyes, and subscribe if you want to keep seeing the stories the mainstream media is too afraid to tell. Let me know in the comments what you think about Gates buying up all that farmland. Is it genius or is it something else? I want to hear your thoughts. Remember, the best time to build a boat is before the rain starts. Bill Gates has his boat ready. It is time to start building yours. Stay sharp, stay ready, and keep watching the money. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.